Blog Talk Radio.
You are now listening to True Murder, the most shocking killers in true crime history, and the authors that have written about them. Gacy, Bundy, Dahmer, The Night Stalker, BTK. Every week, another fascinating author talking about the most shocking and infamous killers in true crime history. True Murder, with your host, journalist and author, Dan Zupansky.
Good evening. This is your host, Dan Zupansky, for the program True Murder, the most shocking killers in true crime history, and the authors that have written about them. In this explicit first-hand account, a biker who spent 46 years as a member of the Hells Angels and Satan's Choice invites best-selling author Peter Edwards into the story of life lived as we've only imagined it. A kid raised by his father's fist on the wrong side of a blue-collar town, Lorne Campbell grew up watching the local bikers ride past, making him wonder what that kind of freedom and power would feel like. He soon found out. At the age of 17, he became the youngest ever member of the Satan's Choice Motorcycle Club and spent the next 5 decades living a life for which he does not ask forgiveness, only that his story finally be told and that his family finally understand what drove him to live the life the way he did. With moments of terror and humor, great sadness, and the simple pleasures of camaraderie in the open road, Unrepentant is a book like none other. The book that we are featuring this evening is Unrepentant-The Strange and Sometimes Terrible Life of Lorne Campbell, Satan's Choice, and Hell's Angel Biker. Welcome to the program, and thank you for agreeing for this interview, Lorne Edwards and, Peter Edwards and Lorne Campbell. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Good evening, Lorne.
Yeah.
Good evening, Lorne Campbell.
Was he on?
It shows that he is, very much like you are.
Yeah.
I'll try again here. Good evening, Lorne Campbell. Good evening, Lorne. It still says hold time, so I'm not quite sure. Anyway, welcome to the program, Peter, and this is congratulations on a very, very interesting, unusual, unique, and fascinating book.
Oh, thank you.
Lorne seems to have hung up, so I'm hoping he's just going to call right back in and get in the queue. There seemed to have been some problem when he was on hold.
When there's a break, I can call him and see what's up.
Well, we normally don't have a break, but he'll call back in. I'm certain of that because I'm sure he'll call back. Anyway, I wanted to ask you, I guess I'll ask some questions of you that specifically, that really don't need the input from Lorne at this point. What compelled you to write it? Here we do have Lorne right here. We'll see if we'll get him back on here.
Is this Dan?
Yes. Good evening, Lorne. Sorry about that technical error there.
Sorry about that. I was hearing you guys, but you couldn't hear me.
There we go. Well, everything's straightened out. Welcome to the program, and like I had said to Peter, congratulations on a very interesting and fascinating book.
Thank you very much.
Now, I was going to ask Peter Edwards, and then I'll quickly ask you, without you guys revealing too much of this incredible story, I'm going to ask the basic question of Peter, and I'll ask the same question of you, and that is, why Peter Edwards? Peter, why did you want to do this story? What you've written about organized crime. The last time I had you on, your book, Bandito Massacre. But specifically, why did you want to write this kind of book, which is a lot different than any book that you've written before and any kind of organized crime book that I've ever read? Tell us why you wanted to work with Lorne Campbell and this book about the beginnings of Satan's Choice and Hell's Angels here in Canada. Tell us about why you wanted to work on this book with
I think in a way you kind of answered it. Like it wasn't the way Lorne was talking. It wasn't something I had heard before, and it wasn't something I'd read before, and so it was neat to do something that was really fresh. It took a while before I was convinced that that he actually would be as good as I hoped he would be, and he turned out he was actually better. So, but it a lot of people have good stories. Lorne had a great story, but a lot of people are afraid of telling their stories, and Lorne wasn't afraid at all. He was very big on doing it as well as we could, so that no one could say that we held back or didn't tell the truth or didn't give them their money's worth. And when I could really sense his commitment, I got pretty excited about it.
Right. Now I ask the same question of you, Lorne. Why on earth would you want to do this book? What is the real, most important, biggest reason why you wanted to write this book?
So you could read it, Dan. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
The reason for it was I have been told through the years by my friends and family, you should write a book. Because I'd be sitting there telling stories along with other people, and I suppose maybe some of my stories were more interesting than anybody else's. And I'd heard that through the years, and I was sitting with my friends here that we live with, Ovidio and Elizabeth Sanchez, and we were sitting here, and just the three of us having a pop. And they said 2 years ago, you should write a book, Lorne. And I said, okay, that's, I just got out of jail. I did 4.5 years in jail just prior to that. And I thought, what a good idea. There's been other people tell me that, like I say, but they just, it hit me. Yes, I should write a book. And I did. I was looking for an author, and in the end, I couldn't have got a better author to write my book in Peter. And anyways, that's made me write the book.
How did you come to meet Peter and know of his work, and then make the decision to say, I trust this author to tell the story?
Well, it was through
accurately.
A friend of ours, Mary Liscombe is her name. She's a photographer and writer herself. And my wife and I I just went to my heart specialist, and on the way home, we met her just coincidentally, seen her, and we went out to dinner. And we're sitting out in the patio at this place in Newmarket, and I was looking for a writer, and she said, "Boy, I know the guy. I know the guy that'll want to write it for you." And it was Peter. And Peter covered our case, my last case in court. It was criminal organization case, big case, and actually the longest running trial in Canadian history, and he covered it, coincidentally. And she introduced us to Peter, and it went from there. It was Peter was a godsend, to write my book. He just was the man after I got to know him, and I had already read the Bandito Massacre, and that is what made me pick Peter. Peter never. With the characters, I wanted my book to be about full characters, not just this person did that and that person did this. I didn't want that, and Peter was the man. I read that, and I seen how he was with, pretty bad characters. Okay, pretty rough and bad characters involved in the Bandito Massacre, and he never run anybody down. And I've been a biker all my life, and I didn't want that. I didn't want him to, I wanted full characters, if you understand what I mean, Dan. I wanted full characters. And we made the deal. I wasn't going to lie. I was going to tell the truth, and and with the interesting people I've met, and it worked out well between me and Peter and I.
Now, Peter, what we spoke of just before we went on air was that I had asked you, basically I congratulated you on the book, and I said, this is not really like a memoir, and I'm glad you didn't call it that, because people have the sort of impression what that is. And your response was that I have a certain responsibility as a journalist. You've got 10 nonfiction books. You've got 25 years under your belt as a serious journalist. So tell us what you had to do once you did meet Lorne, once you thought, hey, this guy's the real deal, but what did you still have to do as a journalist, as your duty to make sure that you wrote an unflinching but yet truthful book?
We had it really clear about our roles. Like Lorne could comment on anything, could double check the facts, but on the other hand, I'd be checking what he said, and I wanted his prison records. He got his prison psychiatric records so that I could check, who I was dealing with. He also got his father's military records. I double checked what he was saying, because someone can be likable, but you don't know what they're going to be like under pressure, and there is pressure doing a book, and so I was double checking him, and what he was saying was turning out to be true. And there were sometimes when I'd have a couple things, and he'd add something else that would explain it, but it wouldn't make him look any better, but it would make the story more understandable. It'd make it
right.
He wasn't shy about going into his motivation, and he didn't. He doesn't mind criticizing himself. He doesn't mind. You don't have to sort of tiptoe around and pretend everything's great. He can be his own harshest critic on a lot of things.
Right. Now, we don't have all the time that we really would have to really examine this, but I really liked how you included your upbringing, and so, of course, how you were shaped, how your character was shaped. So tell us, Lorne, how it was growing up, where you grew up, and the sort of life that shaped who you became as a teenager.
Okay, that's not a difficult question, but it's a good question. I grew up rough. I grew up in what they call the ghetto in Oshawa, down the south end. I was beaten a lot as a kid. Anything that I did wrong, I was beaten. I got sent to the training school when I was 13 years old. And I thought, boy, you know the story about the kid in the box? I thought that everybody was like I was. I truly thought that. I became in the training school 13 and 14 years. I turned 14 then. Went to Coburg Training School, then Bowmanville Training School. I turned 14. I was the rock of the school when I left. That's just a name that they give a guy that's the toughest guy in the joint. And after I come out, I used to see motorcycles going by my front window. I lived downtown in Oshawa. That's where I was born and raised. Oshawa is a tough town. We had a lot of boxing clubs, and I fought all my life. And that's okay with me. I was told by my dad when I was 8 years old, there ain't any 15-year-old kid in the Boston club that could beat my son. Okay, but I watched the bike clubs. I would watch them go by, and it was just beautiful to me. That's what I wanted. That's the life I wanted. I seen the brotherhood. I seen them fight, and I fought all my life for what they believed in, and I wanted to belong. I didn't have really much of my parents loved me, but I didn't have much of a family life. They all loved me. My dad had 13 kids. My grandchildren. My grandparents had 13 kids on my dad's side, and I think 5 on my mother's side. And they all loved me. But it wasn't really. I was beaten a lot by my dad, not my mother. My mother wouldn't do that, but by my dad. And I thought every kid grew up like that. I seen the bikers. I fought with the bikers. I stuck by them. I was only a teenager, and then when I was 17 years old, I went to the president's home and fought a guy. 20 years later, it's in the book, and I don't want to reveal what's in the book.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know what
now,
I mean?
Tell us more. Tell us a little bit more about the event. You say you got in a fight at the. Tell us about that event, and then what was offered to you, which it was a coveted prize for you.
I was told that my friend that I grew up since I was a young kid that I went to school with was beat up by 3 guys. So I was going around this dance hall, and I'm looking for these guys, and I come out the front, and here's the president of Satan's Choice and the two other guys that actually started Satan's Choice, and that's where it started in Oshawa, talking to these guys. So I hear one of them say they want to fight. They want to go to Bernie Gwynden's house and fight because his basement was set up like a boxing ring. So I went over to Bernie, and I didn't know him. I knew a couple of the other guys through my family and that. But I said, listen, do you mind if I come over? Because these 3 guys just beat the shit out of my friend, John. And they didn't. I found out later that they didn't. But nevertheless, Bernie said, yeah, okay. So we went down, and Bernie put gloves on with, there was 2 karate guys and 1 Golden Gloves boxer. And Bernie ended up to be North American British Commonwealth champion. That's actually my longest running friend, Bernie Gwynnon. And he started the choice. So he had the fight with the first guy and knocked him out. My fight was the second fight. The only rules were, now keep in mind, Dan, I'm 17 years old. I'm a pretty tough character, but I've never been involved in motorcycle clubs before. So it's all, it's all alien to me too, and romantic, So my fight was next, and I said, or Bernie said, you have to wear running shoes. If somebody goes down, if the other guy goes down, you can't kick him. And that's my rules anyways. I'm a pretty fair fighter. So it didn't last any more than 2 seconds. And one of the Hamilton guys, I got on the ground. I didn't kick him. But the guy who Bernie thought I was going to. So he's up behind me, and he grabs me by the shoulder and swings me around after I've already dropped this other guy. Bernie seen what was happening. He swung him around and knocked him out cold again, and I swear to God, I thought he was dead. I thought this character was dead because his eyes, there was only the whites of his eyes that I seen, and I thought, holy fuck, pardon my language, but I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to swear. God, holy cow, the guy's dead. And he wasn't. Then later on that night, we sat and had a few pops, like the guys from Hamilton and us. I'm not a member or anything, and I was asked that night to join Satan's Choice. They didn't know I was 17 years old, mind you, but that night, because of that, and that's in a nutshell what happened.
Now, Peter,
and I did. I said, yeah. And I told the guys later, years and years later, they'll strike for 6 months, or with Hell's Angels, you hang around for a year and you prospect for a year. And I would jokingly say to the guys, boy, I struck, and it was the worst three weeks of my life.
Oh, yeah.
So that was
the
word that we throw at each other. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, thanks.
Peter, now, you've been involved with these types of books and these types of cases as a journalist and a nonfiction author, organized crime, and which includes criminal organizations, which, at least Hell's Angels have been deemed a criminal organization. How interesting, or tell us about sort of the moment that you understand that through Lorne Campbell, you're getting essentially, and I don't know how much of that history you knew essentially, but the origins of Satan's Choice with Bernie Gwindon, as you just mentioned, and then the Hells Angels absorbing clubs like the Satan's Choice later on in the history of outlaw biker clubs in Canada. Tell us about what that meant to you in terms of valuable information, interesting information, and information that you may not have known before. And, of course, valuable as you are that type of journalist writing about these types of cases.
It showed you what a cross-section there was. I mean, not everything's a criminal organization. And one thing with Lorne that was kind of funny was that he said at one point that Satan's Choice was, a lot of it was crime, but it wasn't really organized crime. Like, he kind of disputed the word organized. And so a lot of it is, just sort of the personalities. I think that sometimes you're trying to figure out something from the outside and you don't have a clue, and then when someone explains personalities to you, it makes sense. I think sometimes people look at this stuff like a James Bond movie where it's a big master plan to take over the world, and then when you hear what's going on, it's a lot more human. Like a lot more, you can understand it, not from a business point of view as much as from a human point of view, why people are doing things. I mean, one guy in the book got strung up and he didn't die, but he got strung up, and it was for not bringing a beer, which is embarrassing, and it undercuts people, and it all makes sense when you get into the mindset of people at the party. But from the outside, it looks pretty insane to string a guy up over a drink. But when you think of how the guy was embarrassing them publicly and the consequences of being embarrassed, then you can start getting into understanding why this happened. That's the sort of stuff you can only get when you're talking to someone who's actually on the inside. On the outside, you might see the guy dangling from the tree, but you wouldn't have a clue why he got up there.
Right, and it's interesting too is that there's not that much documentation. I know I've seen a couple documentaries about the origins of Satan's Choice, and it was interesting that you included in your book about a film director named Shabib, information I didn't know exactly who this guy was. Tell us about Bernie Gwindon. How did he become the leader of the Satan's Choice? Tell us a little bit about the history of that, Lorne, about the other biker clubs that he drew from, and the rivalry with Johnny Sombrero. Tell us about the origins of Satan's Choice and Bernie Gwindon and how that all began.
Yes, it's to me it's interesting, and I hope to other people it would be just as interesting. Bernie was a Golden Hawk writer. The Black Diamond Riders were invited to Pebblestone Park, I think it was called, just outside of Oshawa. And unbeknownst to the Golden Hawks, the Black Diamond Riders, they were cutting down trees and tree stumps for weapons, and beat the snot out of the Golden Hawks, and the Golden Hawks weren't ready for it. So after that, Bernie Gwindon and Reg Hawk and Carmen Neal, there was three members, started the Phantom Riders. They left the Golden Hawks. Bernie was one of the guys that stood up to the Black Diamond Riders, and they were a tough crew. You can't say enough about them because they were a tough crew. And anyways, things were different back then, but they started the Phantom Riders Motorcycle Club in Oshawa. Then Shabib, they wanted to make just a National Film Board thing on motorcycle clubs.
Right.
So they went to the Vagabonds and the Paradise Riders. And one of them didn't have enough members. The other one didn't want to do it. I can't remember which was which. But they come to Bernie, and he said, let's do it. So he went to, there was, let me see, Throttle Twisters, The Plague. There was 4 clubs. There's from Toronto, let me think now. There's two clubs from Toronto, Roadrunners and the Canadian Lancers. They said okay, and they decided to put on the Satan's Choice patch to make this documentary.
Right.
So after the documentary was made, it was only it was like 17 or 18 hours of film, but they cut it down to a half an hour, and it was a National Film Board. In fact, I've got it here somewhere. And they made that, and Bernie talked the other clubs into leaving the Satan's Choice patch on their backs. And it was like, fuck you to, it was like, Black Diamond Riders, you can't hurt us anymore. That's what it was. So they kept the patch, and that was the first 4 chapters, and it grew from there. It grew to, I think, 13 chapters in the 60s.
But Satan's Choice was there was an earlier version with some young guys. They had been stripped of their patch, but Bernie liked that. He was looking for a name, and he liked the look of it and the name, right?
Yes, yeah, you know about it. Don't you, Dan? Anyways, yes, that's absolutely true. Bernie liked the name. He went to Don Norris, who was the first Satan's Choice that got wiped out by the Black Diamond Riders. Don was the first Satan's Choice. And he asked Don, would you mind if we used Satan's Choice name? And the patch. It was exactly the same patch, just different material. And Don said yes, and the rest is history. Like we became all the chapters from then on.
Right. Now, Peter, what was your biggest task with this, as opposed to all the other writing that you normally do, covering trials, and then all the nonfiction books and the research? Was there anything different here, and if it was, what was the bulk of what you really had to do here to be successful in your mind with this book?
The trick was, it would have been easier to write an 800-page book because there's a ton of stuff, but we didn't want to scare people away with just too many pages. Like the trick was boiling it down. There were a lot of really interesting stories that, if they sounded kind of the same, you'd have to take the best one, or you'd have to take stuff from different years to have it flow along. And so usually, sometimes when you're doing a book, you have this panic after you sign the deal that you might not have the information. This one, it was more just tons of information. We could have gone on for years and years working on this thing. I'd talk to Lorne every week for 7 or 8 hours, and I'd go up to his place with about 40 questions, and always by the end of it, the 40 would be answered, and there'd be a bunch of new stuff, and then I'd have enough to write 20, 30 pages a week. So getting the material wasn't a problem. It was more just trying to figure what themes to cover. His family versus the club. His childhood versus what it's like in prison. All these different things you had to cover. It was a great feeling to know that there was always material, and that I didn't have to argue with him or try and finesse it out of him. He was working. Like he Lorne's a smart guy, and he knew what we were doing. What our job was, and he went at it like a partner. Usually I have to try and pry stuff out of people. Right.
And so what did you come away, even though you've written about bikers before and organized crime, did you come away with a better understanding, a more comprehensive understanding of what it takes to be a biker and why anybody would want to be a biker?
A lot of it is
process.
You look at it less as an organization than as a collection of people, and there's a lot of things you start to wonder. Like, it makes you wonder, what kind of a father was I? Because you could see the influence of Lorne's father on him, and it'd make you think, what was I like? With my kids, it would it would kind of put you in that there but for the grace of God go I sort of thing. Like, you hear about people who had some pretty hard stories. Who had it pretty rough when they were young, and how they coped with it. Also, it impressed me how Lawrence kept a sense of humor when he's had a lot of incredibly rough things happen, around him. So it does show you coping too. Someone keeps a sense of humor and everything's been taken away, and they've been stripped of things that they've worked for. It does get you to think more on a human level about how people can survive and move on. It also shows you how you can really get along with someone, even though your life isn't that much like their life. On a lot of ways, you can still be friends with somebody when on the surface you might not have that much in common.
Yes, certainly. Now, Lorne, the title of this book is Unrepentant, and so I've got to ask. Obviously, you agreed with the title. I don't know if you came up with it, but it's certainly representative of you and this book. I certainly understand why it's an appropriate title. But tell us why you felt this was an appropriate title, Unrepentant, and what does that mean to people that just look at it? What are they supposed to take away from that when they see Unrepentant and this life that you've lived?
Oh, I hate the title. That was Peter that picked that. No, I'm just kidding.
I stuck it in when he wasn't looking.
I love the title because when you look at the book, I hope that people see all aspects of my personality. I do have a sense of humor, but during the days of the days when I was pretty harsh and I collected money, I was a harsh person. And I don't have regrets. In case anybody asks, I don't have regrets for the people that got hurt while I was collecting money, and because that's the life, and I was playing the life, in the life, I should say, and other people were playing the life. So if they got hurt, so be it. And I have no regrets. I have regrets in my life, but it's not when it comes to the people that were dealing drugs or the people that I was collecting from. I have absolutely no regret or remorse. That's just a fact, Dan.
Right.
I live a different life now. I've always loved my family. I've always been true, and I've always my family and friends. I've always protected them, and I have not had any fear towards myself. I've been shot and stabbed more than anybody I know, and I've never had any fear over it, except for the ones that I love or close, my family or the people that I love, and it's just the way it is. Now I just live a different life. I'm with my family now. I cherish my family more than ever, and it's a different life.
Now you say, and what I did in the introduction is we spoke about that this book is also to explain some things to your own family and I guess close friends and critics. I guess people that think, again, I use the word criminal organization because that's the language sometimes. It's a criminal organization, and every motorcycle club has fought against that stereotype, right?
Yes. Can I just explain that?
Sure.
For anybody that's listening, I don't really explain my life. I don't feel that I have to do that. But in 2007, I got arrested. I spent 50 months in jail, along with 3 other people in the end. And we fought criminal organization charges, and they threw everything at us. It was the longest-running trial in Canadian history. And I can't tell you enough how much they tried to throw that criminal organization thing at us. And we won. We won hands down. I said right from the first, I told my guys, we're all Hell's Angels, I told them, we'll fight this in front of a jury of our peers. This may sound goofy, me saying this, Dan. It may sound a little bit goofy, and but we did fight it. You know, a lot of guys wanted to plead to this and plead to that, but in the end, 4 of us fought it, and they threw everything at us, and we won. You know, I'm very proud of that. When I say we won, I don't say it through bitterness. From now on, it's in my rearview mirror. So you have to, anybody listening has to understand that. But we won the case, and it was 3 months preliminary and 9 months of every day going to court, a 9-month trial. And when they talk about criminal organization, we won that. No matter what anybody says about Hell's Angels, they are not a criminal organization. So, you know, maybe I do sound arrogant, but you know, we won it, and we won it hard. We won it fair, and we won it hard. The judge was fair, the jury was fair, and you know, I could swear, but I won't.
Now, I'll ask you this question. You know, you include in the book about the famous movie The Wild One with Marlon Brando and Lee Marvin, and you like the Lee Marvin character and the idea of freedom, and you used to see club members going by on their bikes, and you thought that you envisioned that as a freedom and power. Has this been worth it all the years in prison? And is I know you don't really say it with the book, but I mean, I'm asking you in your life, was this fight for freedom, personal freedom, all the prison, all the tribulation, is it worth it?
Can I explain the prison part? I used to, you know, I've done years in prison. You know, that's just a fact. I've done years in prison. Now, when I've been out of prison, I've sat there with friends and friends' children, their children. And we used to laugh and joke about all of the good times we had in prison and the funny things we had in prison.
Right.
And you have to catch what I'm saying, please. But I would notice after a few years, I would notice that these kids, they're in their teens or even less than that, they would be listening to us. And they would be looking at us like we're heroes. Well, we would never talk about the hardships in prison. I've been locked up for months at a time, and that's 24-hour lockup. And I thought, and I'd see these children looking at me. So I stopped doing that. I stopped talking about how much fun we had at certain times in prison. Because these kids, and a lot of these kids ended up going to jail. So I stopped doing that. And, you know, I'm nothing special. I'm not a morality guy. Like, you know, my morals are the same morals I was born with. I have very good morals. But I just seen these kids watching us, and I stopped doing that. So when you say, you talk about me in prison, I done my time, and I done my time well. Nobody screwed with me. You know, I won't let even at my age now anybody screw with Lorne. You know, like I said after this last bit that I did, nobody screwed with this Hell's Angel. But you know, like after saying that, I don't like kids looking at life behind bars as a romantic or any romanticism, because it's not.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
Like I've met a lot of tough people in jail, and they've cried over their children.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know whether that answers your question, Dan, but you know, that's I wish people from this book, people say, well, what's the thing behind this book? Well, that's one of them. That's one of them. You know, don't think that you're that tough. You're going to go to prison, and everything's going to be all right. Because you know, I've watched people being shanked. I've actually stabbed and shot more people that have stabbed and shot me. You know, but don't think it's that easy, and don't think it's the life. It's not the life.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's only 1% of the people can gain membership in a club. And like you say in the book, you talk about in the book, you and Peter, that there's a lot of guys that don't last too long in the club. So the turnovers.
Yeah, there's turnovers.
Pretty frequent.
Yeah, and there always has been. There always has been, Dan. But it's changed. Like the biker life has changed through the years. Whether like you can look at it like it's changed to the good or it's changed to the bad. I think it's just changed. I think just life changes. Like through the years, I was 1966. I was a member at 17, and I left the club 2 years ago, and the brotherhood's still the same, but it's the clubs aren't the same. Like the world changes. The world changes, not and along with that, clubs change.
Yeah. Now, Peter, you were talking about the process that you used 7 or 8 hours at a time, or a week, 7 or 8 hours a week of correspondence that you would turn into, information that you would then edit down and, like you say, try to gather in the stories that reflect what you wanted to say overall, or what you thought what you really did want to say between you two as authors of this book. Tell us a little bit more about the process that you did, and how long was this process? How long did it take from beginning to end, from meeting to publication? How long did this whole process take for you, Peter?
We first started talking in late August of 2011, and then I guess it came out in late April of this year, and it would have been edited maybe 4 months before that. So. Mm-hmm. Pretty continual process. There was a little break in the middle there of about 6 weeks where I was just sort of pulling the information together, but pretty continual. When you know it's going well is when you actually are looking forward to the meetings. Like I was looking forward to the meetings, and I was wanting to, you'd have all your 40 questions answered, and then you'd think up another 40, and you'd keep sort of going on. And when he was, I could see he was really working answering them. Then even if I didn't quite understand an answer all the way, I could ask it again and get a little better, a little better sort of take on where he was coming from. I thought that was just fantastic opportunity, really. And then when I kept checking what he was saying to make sure it was true, but I didn't. It all was true. Like he was more explaining why he did what he did and how it felt. He wasn't disputing, saying, no, I didn't or anything like that. It was more, here's why, and here's how it felt, and here's what it's like to be in this situation. So it's pretty exciting, really. Like in my job, you spend a huge amount of time chasing people around and trying to get them to you say a little about something. When someone's really making an honest effort to explain what happened, it's it's the sort of thing that keeps you in the job and makes it fun.
Right. Did you
he bothered me for a year and a half? That's what he's saying.
Shocking him.
Did you happen to, in the course of this, happen to meet any of the characters in the book that Lorne would have introduced you to? Yeah,
that was interesting too. Like that was, to meet people like Bernie Gwynn that you've heard about.
Right.
That was neat. It was. It's interesting when you could actually, sit down and talk to someone about something, and the, people just sort of trying to put it in context of what it felt like. I think sometimes when people do books on this sort of thing, they forget that they're still writing about human beings. They turn it into World War II and try and make it all tactical this and money that, and they forget that people are actually involved. That a lot of these are human stories. There's a human reason why people do things, and then and there's things you wonder, like coping in prison. How do you keep your head together? And it's great when someone actually tries to makes a real sincere effort to explain it to you. That you don't get that chance every day. And then also a lot of people, even if they try, they're not bright enough to tell their stories. And Lorne's a bright guy, so he could.
Thanks, Peter.
But he could think of things from a lot of different angles, and he could say, yeah, this is absurd, but this is what I did. and he wouldn't try and sugarcoat it. A lot of books on this sort of stuff, it's someone saying, the devil made me do it. I didn't really mean to do it. All the bad people made me do it. And Lorne would just say, yeah, I did it. And there's something more honest about that than people doing something, getting caught crying, and then pretending that there's a bunch of bad apples that dragged them down.
This is a question I'll ask both of you, and you can answer it first, Peter, because I think you might have a different answer and obviously a different perspective. You've covered a lot of trials in a newspaper in Toronto Star, and whether it's a Toronto Star or the National Post or it's Winnipeg Free Press or it's anywhere in Canada, it's not like the Satan's Choice and Hell's Angels have gotten an easy ride in print at trials and their depiction, the newspaper's depiction of these motorcycle clubs. I saw you on Canada AM, and certainly that was there was no flack on there. Have you gotten any resistance at all, given that kind of coverage historically in Canada for this book, and especially the tone of this book?
I think a lot of people, sort of on all sides of it, like it, and a lot of people on all sides of it really don't like it. I know that. I'm friends with Michel Auger, the reporter who was shot in Quebec, so I know bad things happen. Like I'm not naive, but then it was a small group of people that did that. It wasn't every Hell's Angel, and so I think it's kind of odd, but in a way we're working away on the book, and you have to blank out what other people are going to think, because you're trying to make the book almost its own. It sounds kind of corny, but like a living thing, and you don't. If people don't like it, they don't like it. But I think we were. It's a real honest effort, and I think it's an extremely honest book. And I don't think we tried to make it this way or that way. We just tried to make it, honest and entertaining. And if you don't like it, go read another book. Is sort of my feeling.
No, but I'm not saying that.
But
you
I'm not
thought
saying
of.
You don't. I'm glad you like it.
No, I'm not.
But
I'm not saying that you thought beforehand. I'm talking about resistance now, that because you're doing really well is a question. I already know that this book is doing really well and is well accepted, but I was asking the question, has there been any resistance? Has there been any surprises? Has there been, in terms of, this like I say, I'm surprised that there would be no resistance, but has there been any resistance at all?
Oh, there has been some.
Going to do an interview?
Some people were even afraid to go to the book launch party. I was telling jokes about no colors, and then some people chickened out on going to the party, like they thought it was going to be St. Valentine's Day Massacre or something.
Oh.
So, it's sort of funny, but it's interesting just how people read it. Like, one thing that really hit me was how many women liked it. Usually when you're working on a book like this, you assume it's mostly for men, and this one, a huge amount of the contact I've had on the internet are people who've been approached me about it and wanting to talk about it are women, and that's kind of I found that fascinating. I think smarter police like it because they like to get into the heads of people they deal with. People who want everything black and white, then they won't like it. One thing I think when people talk about drug trafficking, I think anyone who buys the drug is part of the crime, not just the person selling it, and so it's there's enough blame for everybody there. So a lot of things I don't really see as this side or that side, and then sometimes people get upset with you when you they want the world nice and simple, good guys and bad guys, and we're victims, and they're making us do things, and I just don't see the world that way.
Well, that's good. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to write this book if you did. But what I'm saying is, like, Canadian media is not very open-minded about that. When I say when you're in a trial and you're supposed to be, innocent till proven guilty, and you've got these labels and depictions and then charges like a criminal organization. So people, just may tend to, think unhighly of motorcycle clubs. That's all. You know what I'm saying? So
and a lot of people will write about them without. In journalism, you're supposed to try and approach both sides. Why did you do this, or what did you think? And
sure,
it seems like one area where you don't really have to approach both sides. You can just, make up what you want or put in what you want. some pretty terrible things happened in Quebec, and I can understand that, that people are upset, and that's, that makes sense. But
jump in there, more than upset, and I disagree with any of that. I disagree with that when what's the name for it? When you shoot somebody from the outside of a house.
Or you drive-bys or whatever.
Drive-bys. I disagree with all that, but I have to jump in there and say what Peter said about. What the hell was it you guys were just talking about when the criminal org? Geez, I can't remember what it was now. I just sorry, I lost my thought.
Well, let me ask you a question while you gather your thoughts, Peter. What
thank you.
Has been the impression of your friends, and especially former club members and existing club members, to this book so far? It's been released, like you say, in April, so a little ways away. So there's
club members that I've got feedback from that don't like the book because they don't like what I say about this and that. But I haven't really, in my opinion, I haven't really said anything bad about any of them. I wouldn't have been around for 46 years if I didn't love the life that I was leading. And I actually loved the life that I was leading. My health's not that good now, and that's why I left the club. If that wasn't so, I would have still been with the club. But that's
what does Bernie Gwindon think about this book?
Bernie Gwynn is my longest biker friend ever, and he loves it.
There you go.
He loves the idea that along with other club members that are still in the club, love the idea that I've written a true account. Like there's, nobody contests the fact that there's been criminals in the club. I was one of them, Dan.
Right.
And I was a pretty strong character when it comes to backing things up. I was very, very violent all my life. I don't apologize for that because that's just the way I was. And I fit right into to Satan's Choice. When I started with Satan's Choice, I'm an extremist. I'm extremely loyal, and that's me. But most of the guys that I've met through the years, contrary to popular belief, are not criminals, and they may be tough individuals. Like most of the 1% clubs are tough guys. They're tough guys. They back up what they say, but they're not criminals. Like a criminal organization is laughable to Satan's Choice and Hell's Angels. It's laughable. We have to laugh at it. The government has depicted them guys as criminals because, or a criminal organization because there's criminals in there, very tough guys. There's been deaths. There's been, violence. But that's sticking up for what you believe in. Frontier justice, or whatever you want to call it.
But the thing is that a lot of people agree with you. I think they say, "Hey, listen, if you're not dealing with them, if you're not involved with drugs, or big deal, maybe drugs should be legal anyway. It's prohibition." So a lot of people can get around that. There's, I've seen it personally. That people don't have this disrespect. Nobody's spitting on any bikers as they ride by on their motorcycles, or shunning them. So, despite some people might have a certain attitude towards them, but it certainly kind of keep it quiet. But what I'm saying is that some people think it. Some people think because based on Montreal and based on
and straight people more criminal than the bikers that I've seen. So it's made guys like me proud of who we are. I don't try to be more of a criminal during my criminal life. I've not tried to be more criminal because of what I've seen, But it made me so proud of who I am, seeing criminal behavior within the police force, and I'll argue with anybody. You know, I will argue with anybody when it comes to that topic.
Well, let me ask you this one tough question.
That doesn't make me better, or it doesn't make them better, the police force, or you know, so-called straight people. But I've seen so much criminal stuff from the police forces that I've been involved with, and it ain't any more or any less than bikers. So, you know, I'm happy being who I am.
The thing is, what people really are fascinated about, and that's how we get to a book, and people are fascinated with the book, and then a program like this called True Murder, is that some people look at the murders of, whether it's not so much innocents, just other people,
yes, innocent.
Period. And so
a
lot of people,
on that
especially
subject, there has been innocents killed during bikerdom or even police forces. There's been innocents killed, and But anyways, myself, I disagree with any of that. You know, if there's been bombings or shootings, drive-by shootings, and innocents have been killed, I disagree with that. You have to get with me and sit down for a couple hours to understand what I mean. But, you know, I don't run down anybody. I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody, because I've done a lot of things in my life. I've hurt a lot of people, and, you know, so be it. But I just disagree with all that shit. Can I say shit?
Sure, certainly.
All right.
Now, tell us, Peter, and then I'll get you to also answer this question too. What exactly did you want to be able to convey to an audience with this book? What is all included in this? I know we talked about the history, the origins of Satan's Choice and Bernie Gwindon and Johnny Sombrero, very amazing stuff. And then, of course, later on in the book is the Hells Angels and the Satan's Choice. Again, like I mentioned, being absorbed. All of that is covered in there. Overall, with the book, not a moral message, but what did you want to, because there's no real moral message, what did you really want to convey that you didn't find in any other book and really wanted to convey in this book, Peter? What did you really want to express?
I think what I wanted was an honest from the inside book about what does it feel like. I mean, one of my favorite songs is Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan, where he sings, you know, how does it feel? And a lot of times, you know, you'll know what happened, but you still don't really know what it's about, and you want to know, you can see all the action, but you don't really understand it, and so I wanted something that, you know, would tell me how it felt. You know, what does it feel like when you do this? What does it feel like when you're locked up? What does it feel like when, you know, extreme things are happening? Just sort of what are the emotions, and you know, what pushes someone to do certain things. And so I wanted the factual stuff. You know, obviously we had to have it in there, but I didn't want a dry history book about, you know, in 1965 this happened and there were X amount of members, and that's all there is. I wanted to know why did people feel the need to come together? Why did people feel the you know, the push to do this and do that? Because a lot of times we forget that these are actual human beings. Like, it's not cartoon characters. A lot of times it's portrayed too cartoony, really, where you forget that there are human motivations for things.
Mm-hmm. And Lorne, the question to you too is, you have talked about your entire life from growing up, what shaped you, your dad, the lifestyle, the split up of your parents, prison. But what did you want to really convey? What is the gem of what did you want to explain and convey in this book that you hadn't in some of the telling of the stories that you had? What did you really want to be able to say with this book, through this book?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. Yes, the book is from the start was make sure you know what you want in life. And there's a lot of people that want to be like me. They've seen motorcycles go by, 100 motorcycles go by at once. And it's camaraderie, all of that. And I wanted people in this type of life, not just bikerdom, but this type of, it's a rough life. Be sure what you want, in any life. Just be sure what you want. And if you get into this, it fit for me. It really did fit for me, because I was comfortable all the time I was riding, and I still ride. I still ride every day. I went for a ride today for an hour or so, and that's my life. I love doing it. Rough people, they're rough people, rough around the edges, and I enjoy riding with them. I enjoy being with them, because they actually are the softest people in the world. These bikers are the softest people, family-wise and stuff like that. But they're the toughest people in the world. Make sure what you want, because you're going to go to jail. You're probably going to get divorced, and all of that. Like that's probably, and you might get shot, you might get stabbed. Mm-hmm. But geez, enjoy it while you're doing it. Don't look for trouble. But if trouble comes to me, I'm there. I'm there. Like, get it on is the word for me. I use that to my friends and my enemies. Get it something on. I won't swear. Okay, Dan?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Anyways, I say get it the hell on. But if it's not your life, that's what I'm trying to get it across in this book. And I wanted full characters, which Peter has done. Like it's just I wanted it edited that way with full characters. Not this person did that, and that's it.
Yeah.
I wanted this person.
Yeah, characters
did,
that characters that have come to life.
Did that, and give a little bit of his life. And that's what I've read so many biker books that it makes me sick when I read them, because it's about me.
Yeah.
And I'm not about that. I haven't got that kind of ego to do that. I wanted like the characters that I met during the years. And that's why when people said to me, you should write a book, not about me, like I'm telling stories about my friends that I met. Most of them are dead, and I accept that. Most of them are dead. They're, a lot of them were my best friends, and they're dead. But portray them in this book, Peter, as rounded characters. And he did that. I'm just grateful.
Yeah, I want to commend both of you guys. Combined, you guys have made a unique team. Again, Peter is right, because you've been more than forthcoming, more than candid. You were there. You're privy to the information. And again, like you said on Canada, this is not as unlike a lot of books. There's a couple French Canadian guys rattling off that have written a bunch of biker books that we all know who those guys are. And then, like you say, the guys that have been snitches. So this book is completely different. You're getting a completely an overview, and Peter has brought the ability of, right from the very beginning, of drawing the character right into your life. And so I don't know if it explains it, but it offers you just get in for the ride, and it's an interesting ride, and it's a fascinating story, and I want to congratulate you gentlemen on a great book, Unrepentant.
I really appreciate it.
Very, very good book.
Dad.
Oh, thank you.
And I imagine you guys are having a lot of fun doing all the interviews. I know this book is done really well on Amazon with hot new releases, and I saw you guys just recently on Canada AM. So it must be a lot of fun for you, Lorne, especially.
Yeah, it is. And that's exciting.
It's fun to watch people's reactions.
And just doing that thing with Peter, like doing all this with Peter and becoming friends has meant a lot to me.
It means a lot to me too. Like it really means a lot. And some of the situations you get in that are sort of fun. Where a couple of weeks ago I met a retired police officer who arrested Lorne, and just sort of interesting to hear the same story from the other side, from both sides of the gun, like have both guys explaining what the minute felt like.
It was both sides of the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get that very often, where both sides are telling you and they're smiling away and doing their best to explain it. And yeah, I'm hoping that guy shows up when we're signing books on Saturday.
Yeah, me too.
So where's the next book signing, guys?
Oh, in Newmarket on Saturday, noon to 5.
Chapters?
Chapters, yep. Sorry, I should have told you.
Yeah. Oh, great. Oh, good luck with that. Those are always fun. I love that. I love meeting people and letting them know about a story that they might not know about, but it's good to see friends, so it's really nice, yeah.
Well, that guy's welcome.
You guys...
anybody interested at all is welcome.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for, first off, a great read, and secondly, a really good interview, and I want to thank you very much. And thanks, Lorne, for kind of taking some of those. I kind of had to pose some tough questions for you there, so...
I know you did. That's okay, Dan.
Anyway, I want to thank you.
Good interview.
Pardon me?
Oh, good interview. I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. You have a good night. For those listening, you've been listening to Peter Edwards and Lorne Campbell, and they're the authors of Unrepentant-The Strange and Sometimes Terrible Life of Lorne Campbell, Satan's Choice and Hell's Angels Biker. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and good night.
Oh, thank you.
Good night. Okay, we're still here?